us. If you don't mind, just spend a couple minutes telling the group a little bit about your background and just kind of how you ended up here today. So.
Yeah, so I'm from Jacksonville, Florida originally. Grew up pretty active kid. Loved playing sports. You know, outside till it was dark. Had to get dragged in. Never a video game guy. And when I was in middle school, I actually had some early health issues. I hurt my knee playing sports, and I had 5 knee surgeries. And as we were trying to get the knee right, we were tracking early congenital scoliosis. And so basically throughout middle school, about 3 years, crutches, PT, 5 knee surgeries, the scoli was just getting worse and worse. Freshman year of high school, we got to about a 72-degree curve with some lumbosacral anomalies, and it was crushing my lung, diminished lung capacity. My stomach was being crushed, a lot of pain, and we're trying to push it off as much as we could, get as much growth as we could, and sophomore year of high school, it just got to the point where we had to take action. So the recommended procedure was spinal fusion, deformity correction, and the surgeon that had done my knees was actually a pretty well-known spine surgeon, and he had me scheduled the night before the first surgery, canceled, wanted some more time to look at the case, consult with some more people. By that point, I had already been around the country, seen probably 5 or 6 different well-known surgeons. And so he had me scheduled a second time. And then the night before the second surgery was supposed to happen, he called us and he's like, you know what, if I'm looking at these films and these are my daughter's films, like we'd be in St. Louis having Dr. Lanky do your surgery. And so that's exactly what he did. He said, I got you an appointment, you're good to go, get on a plane, go see him. And 2 weeks after that appointment, I was on the table and Dr. Lanky was doing my correction. And so we ended up having, I'm not sure if we have any x-ray films. Yep, there we go. So I ended up getting quite a bit of Medtronic hardware. I'm fused from T4 to sacrum. It's all Medtronic legacy. I think one side's 5.5, the other's 1/4 inch. A couple of cross links and a boomerang cage at L3-4. And a lot of osteotomies and a whole bunch of infuse. So I'm pretty solid with fuse now.
Nice. Great story. So I just want to kind of go back to your childhood a little bit, and it sounds like you had several different issues growing up. So what do you think it is about you that just motivated you to just keep pushing through? I mean, it seems like you've been through a lot, but you haven't given up at any point. So what motivates you?
I'm not even really sure. It's like I'm a very competitive person, so everything just becomes a competitive challenge. And so going through all the surgeries, by the time we got to the back, it wasn't even that big of an issue. It was just like another doctor's appointment, another surgery, no big deal. I didn't have a choice anyway, so might as well have a good attitude.
No big deal, right?
So you just, you set little goals, sitting up in bed, getting out of bed. They had me walking quickly, trying to check off the list of all the things that you have to do before you leave the hospital, so I can get on a plane, go home to Jacksonville and start my long-term rehab. It's really just, attitude is everything, and being competitive and goal-oriented. You just set the goals and then get after it, and you don't even worry about the big picture. You're just so focused on the next step before you know it. Like, you're through the surgery, you're through the rehab, and.
Nice. So at what point? It's great that you were able to get in with Dr. Linky. So throughout this whole process, at what point did you start thinking about this could be something that I want to do, as a career? How did you get into that?
Yeah, so it happened when I was in grad school, actually. So after I had my scoliosis surgery and I was fully recovered, I couldn't really play sports to the same level that I like to. Wasn't the biggest guy, trying to avoid more injuries. And so I got into politics and finance. I worked in DC in House of Representatives. I ran a couple of congressional campaigns. And so I found like my competitive outlet through that. And in undergraduate at the University of Florida, go Gators, we actually had a club shotgun team, and there's actually about 120 universities around the country that have club competitive shotgun teams. And so I got on the collegiate circuit shooting, and just a chance encounter at our range. Our range was one of the only in the state of Florida that could throw the Olympic shotgun disciplines. And when we were out there one day, the national team and the national coach was there, and they were watching us shoot, and they kind of said, why don't you come over here and try the Olympic side? And tried it, and kind of fell in love, and figured out, you know, like, this is actually something that I could pursue and be pretty good at. And so I started devoting my time, energy, and efforts to try and get good at Olympic shotgun shooting. I got to live at the Olympic Training Center for 4 months in between my first and second year of grad school. And so Olympic shooting is about the second most expensive Olympic sport behind equestrian. So I was trying to come up with creative ways that I could fund myself and get to the next level. And when I was going over some old x-rays, I found out that it was Medtronic hardware. Thought, well, this has got to be a great fit. Somebody's got to be interested and maybe giving me some money. And so I reached out, and turns out they were. They were able to fund a little bit of my travel, which helped a lot. And it created a dialogue between myself and some of the people here. And in 2014, I got the privilege of speaking at the Medtronic holiday program and meeting a lot of employees, a lot of the top brass. And so I got a very good picture of what this company was all about. And I just kind of realized, you know, instead of trying to come out and go into sports or business, you know, maybe I can come out and go work for a big company that's got a really great mission, very patient focused, and be a part of something that's pretty fun, pretty cool, impacts a lot of lives, and I can use my skill set to advance the standard of care for everybody. I'm pretty lucky that I was able to go to, you know, the top guy, Dr. Lanke, and to be a part of advancing the standard of care for everybody that doesn't have Dr. Lanke is pretty cool. And so it was just a no-brainer after that. Just try to figure out where my skill set fell within the company, and here I am.
Nice. So what has it been like for you as a sales rep with, you know, having been through everything that you have? How does that make you feel? Do you get to interact with patients at all? Just talk a little bit about what it's like to now be on the other side of that to some extent.
Yeah, it's fun. I've come full circle, so now when I'm in the OR, I'm awake, which is kind of nice. You know, some of the surgeons that I work with know my story, and they certainly think that gives me a unique perspective, and it actually allows me to get a little bit more patient interaction than reps typically have. Sometimes the patients want to meet me. They want to ask, you know, if they're going in for a spine fusion, like, what's it like? What can I expect? You know, the surgeon can give them a very medically focused outcome, but as far as pain and range of motion and getting back to normal life, that kind of stuff, it helps that I'm there and can kind of give my personal experience. Through the SER program, I was able to do a mission trip in Jamaica. We did 16 pediatric scoliosis fusions, which had a lot of patient interaction. And it just gives me a unique perspective. And I think that the surgeons that I work with appreciate the fact that while I am there to talk to them about our technology and explain why they should be using Medtronic products in their cases, I feel like I have a little bit of credibility where I'm not just trying to push screws on them and trying to make a sale, that I'm here to provide a good solution for their patients, and that I'm patient focused as they are. And so I think just the whole gamut of experience I have just gives me a really nice platform to be able to share what we can do as a company for surgeons' practices and for their patients without kind of being viewed as, you know, somebody that's always just trying to sell something to them.
Nice. So I think what we've learned a little bit about Tyler today is that, you know, he's very, he doesn't give up. He's goal-oriented, and it's gotten him really far in life, you know, even through all the adversity that you've been through. So it's an amazing story. We really appreciate you sharing it with us. And I don't know, Val, do we have any time for one or two questions from the audience? So yeah, you guys feel free to ask a question.
You guys know wouldn't be a meeting without a question from me, so I'm gonna go first. So Tyler, can you tell us, as a sales rep out in the field, how do you stay connected to the folks in Memphis and keep that tie strong? Because I've heard sales reps tell me before, oh, we're just on our island and those folks in Memphis don't get where we're coming from. So how do you stay connected as a sales rep to the folks here in Memphis?
It is tough. We kind of get in our little world and so busy doing our day-to-day that we do feel like an island sometimes. I feel like I'm pretty connected just by blowing up product managers' phones and talking to my friends in customer service all the time, trying to get what I need. And
we're happy to take those.
yeah, I would say just sometimes it's hard for us. Everybody's busy. It's hard for us sometimes to reach out and just create those relationships with our staff in Memphis unless we need something. And so if there are product managers and engineers that want to learn more about how what we're doing here is taking place in the field, reach out to us too. Like, I love taking phone calls. I love having people in the OR. My surgeons are always very receptive. If an engineer wants to see how they're using a product, we can usually get them in on a case. So I would encourage that kind of dialogue as well, both ways.
Thanks. Any other questions in the room?
How do you go about differentiating the Medtronic product versus your competitors?
Put me on the spot with that one. I think it's really, so I'll give you the context of my market. So we have a couple hospitals that have quite a bit of navigation actually. And then we just had a hospital that added O2 SA 2 weeks ago. And the hospitals that have navigation, they actually use it pretty heavily for cranial procedures. And I feel like they underutilize it for spine. And the hospital that just acquired the O2 SA, it's in Ocala, Florida. It's the first navigation that hospital has ever had. And so it's a totally new standard of care for their patients because our surgeons with that kind of technology and with our products, like when they leave the OR, they know that everything's good. They know exactly where every screw is. They know that their patients are not going to have further neurological issues as a result of something that the surgeon did or as a result of the way that our products are being used. And that's something that our competitors just can't compete against. The way that we're positioning ourselves as a procedural solution company, that's what I try to talk to surgeons about. And we've got pretty much a product for everything, and it all integrates together. And that's how I'm positioning basically, is not only do we have the quality in our products, our screws are better, and I could talk your ear off about why, but you can put those in knowing that those screws are not going to give that patient an issue. And in conjunction with our navigation technology, our new partnership with Mazor, your life as a physician is easier. You have more peace of mind. Your patients are getting treated better than ever. And that's essentially how I position Medtronic.
Thank you. I think the procedural solution is a great answer, and hopefully you're getting a lot of uptake from your physicians.
Yeah, absolutely. The being able to navigate the screws, the disc prep, kind of a slow adoption, but after they try it a couple times, now they're pretty excited about being able to see that. Navigating inner bodies, again, I put in a lot of inner bodies, but now that they can visualize, they can get bigger grafts in, they can position them exactly where they want. It's just giving them a whole new set of tools that they didn't have before, and starting to see a lot of excitement around that.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Just the procedural selling, and then each step of the procedure, we have, as a company and organization, worked very hard to put as much quality controls into all those various steps along the way. So I really do think we're cut above the rest when it comes to that level of attention to detail every step through the procedure. So
yeah,
really,
and I'll just touch on the quality. I thought it was a great opportunity to get to come here during the quality event because it's something that I think about. So when staff in the hospital find out that I have fusion, especially that big, one of their questions is always like, how are you doing? When did you have it? Because we see a lot of revisions, and we don't see the patients that don't need revisions. So it's always on their mind, like you're working against time for some reason. But and then the more I understand the clinical side, the more you know, the more potentially scary thoughts you can have. And I'm 26. I had the procedure when I was 15. So I've had the metal for 11 years. And most people don't have cars that old. And when I think about being 35 and having the metal for 20 years, or being, living to my goal of being 185 years, the metal and the stuff that we implant in patients, it has to last. We know that next year the technology is going to be better than this year, and 50 years it's going to be so much better than it is today. But the stuff that we put in today has to be good enough. It has to last that patient their lifetime, because nobody wants additional surgery if they don't have to. And if that's something that is within our control, with our quality, our attention to detail, our procedures, then that's something that needs to be focused on. And that is another differentiator between us and a lot of the fly-by-night companies in the industry.
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, Tyler is goal-oriented and more so than me, because I was thinking I'd be lucky to hit 90 years old. This guy's going for 100, so and for that. So I guess one final question for me is just looking out into the audience and just knowing that any one of us could, have a car wreck or something happen to us on the way home or whatever it may be. Give us some words of inspiration, I guess, just that, everything you've been through, surely there's something that you could speak to this audience and just, help them get through it, give them something positive.
Yeah, attitude's everything. It's really easy. I try not to watch the news. It's really easy just to get down on anything, but you just gotta have a positive outlook. Life's too short to be unhappy. So, mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. So just smile and be happy.
Good. All right. Thank you.